It's another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast. Today is Tuesday, the 10th of March. I've got myself, we've got James, we've got Anthony, and we're here to talk about the Scottish Cup quarter-final at Ibrox, where Celtic went through on penalties. James, I will start off with you first. You were lucky enough to actually get a ticket for the game. Plenty to talk about. I guess tonight will probably just take care of itself in terms of talking points. How was it, mate? What was your overall takeaways for the experience? Because it wasn't just a game; it was an experience that day. I'm sure.
Well, I think the best bit of the day was probably simply the best as the teams came out the tunnel. The game itself was a total write-off. Just as we were kind of talking about there was little to no football played, and then how we managed it, how we managed to squeak through. I've no idea. I don't think we played off the park by any means. I think we defended well, but I don't think I've ever seen Celtic put in a performance like that with no shots on target. And it was strange because it was a pretty poor performance. But then obviously they end up getting through is the main thing. That's all that matters in the cup. And hopefully this time, as we seem to say a lot now, but hopefully that's the catalyst that we can kick on and.
Yeah.
As we say, with that difficult four-game run, Stuttgart away, Stuttgart twice, Aberdeen away, and obviously Ibrox twice as well. And we've come through it largely unscathed. So onwards and upwards, hopefully.
It was a bit a kind of funny game in terms of if you contrast it to the previous game last weekend, where it seemed like, especially the first half, very much backs to the wall. Rangers were creating a lot of chances, and we were just so surprised how we managed to make it through the first half unscathed at Ibrox last weekend. This time, it wasn't so much backs to the wall, as you said, James. We've only played off the park. There was a midfield battle, there was a defensive battle, but Celtic, whenever we got into the final third, just nothing was happening. We could barely string two passes together whenever we got into that sector of the pitch. Funny game. McGinty, I was saying it in the group chat, especially when we were labouring into the second half, and we had no shots on target. Apparently, we had one shot, but certainly not on target. And I'd said in the group chat, something's got to give. Rangers are attacking. We are not attacking. We've got nothing in our armoury. There's just no way that we're going to score. I can't see it. And then it kind of dawned on me 10 minutes later. The only way we are going to win is if it does go to penalties, and that's obviously how it went. From yourself, plenty of talking points in the game, your overall impression, and I guess the mentality, that was one of the key characteristics that saw us through the game.
I think it's quite telling that the biggest kind of compliment that we can give ourselves on that game is that defensively we were quite good, and that included Dean Murray and Arthur and Liam Scales at left back, and we actually played quite well in that sense. Like, I don't think they blew us away either. Neither team's blessed with talent right now, but the fact that Dean Murray didn't have a shite game, the fact that Arthur, for the lack of experience he has, again didn't have a shite game, and the fact that Liam Scales went on a booking earlier on and still had a decent game as well, kind of probably says it all. Our man of the match for me was Sinisalo, 100%. And yet he did do a lot of good work, but again, he wasn't overly challenged, partly because of the way that he played, almost like that sweeper keeper. He was coming out of his box quite well, quite early, putting in a couple of tackles and obviously heading the balls away and stuff. So he prevented Rangers from getting into positions that would make him pull off worldly saves, albeit he did manage that as well. But yeah, I wouldn't even say that Celtic won the midfield battle. We're still lightweight in midfield. We still don't know what we're doing. I was glad not to see Callum McGregor there, purely for the chance that maybe we see how the midfield could work without him. Not saying he's a bad player, but just something different, kind of akin to when Scott Brown was in the last season or two. We wanted to see how that would play out. And I don't think the midfield done itself any favours to say, look how great we are without him. But at the same time, I don't think they've done that terrible that you turn around and go, oh, we missed him so much. Some people noticed after the game did try and pull we missed Cal McGregor, he's the engine room. Almost like they forgot that the rest of the season's played out with Cal McGregor in midfield, and the midfield's been overrun against Hearts and Rangers anyway. So I think overall, the biggest, as I said, the biggest compliment we can give our team from Sunday is that defensively, with all the frailties that we have, we actually played quite well. Because up front, the front three could have been non-existent. They literally could have taken a day off. The amount of chances and fuck-ups that Maeda makes is unbelievable just now.
Yeah. By the way, your microphone is maybe a little bit unclear. I can hear what you're saying a wee bit, but
Tanecki himself plays with a lot of heart. Sorry, plays with a lot of heart, but he's just not got any end product. So yeah. Game was a bit of a bore.
Thank you to P. McLaughlin for joining us tonight. You are the one and only. In fact, we've got 7 people actually watching this, but you're the first one with the comment. So good evening. It wasn't as poor a game as the first derby at Ibrox, but it wasn't far off it. Mind you, we were just as bad attacking-wise, if not worse. That's certainly a fair point. James, I kind of want you to start off at the beginning. Now, this episode tonight will probably be like a Tarantino movie where we won't go in chronological order. We will jump in back and forth. But from your experience about actually getting into the game, there was a lot said about the police and how there were 11 fans in, and there was like a fair bit of congestion, but not everyone's experience would have been the same. What was it like for you getting into the stadium?
Getting in was horrendous. It was a 1 o'clock kickoff. I think we were probably walking up to the ground about maybe 11:30, 11:45, about that time. And I've been to Ibrox a few times. I've never been when it's been less than the kind of full allocation. I was at the Scott Brown 2 each game, Samaras 2-0, and they bet us 3-2. It was a game we could have won the league, and if we won, obviously. And I've never had a bit of bother getting in, like with stewards or police or whatever. But that and Sunday was an absolute shambles. So you're walking up, and bearing in mind you've got buses either side of the road parked all the way up, and then there was the police had just blocked the road essentially. They were stopping people for going any further up, but there was no pre-warning of that, so everybody was just kind of held there, and you'd heard people asking the question like why, and then there was people saying there was a fire or something in the car park. Somebody said there was a fire at the turnstile. I don't know. I never seen anything myself. I don't know if that was just rumours or if there was.
I heard that on another podcast that there was a fire. Yeah.
It was the guy was saying it's something about a fire at the turnstiles, but I don't know if there was any substance to it. But so you worked your way up, and then everybody was just stoning, and we're asking, look, where is it we're going? Because you're literally just holding us here, and the longer we're stoning here, the more people is coming at the end, and it was getting, you were like sardines, and there was people having to go up to the police. There was kind of older people and like people with wains. Some people were having to put their wains up their shoulders. Other people were just going and like speaking to the police, like, saying, look, we can't move in here. You're literally stoning horns at your side, and obviously if you're in there with young wains, you can quite easily lose them if somebody jumps in front of you or whatever. But what they were doing was like kind of like bottlenecking you. So it was everybody on the road with the buses parked up the side, which was already squeezed, and you were then getting squeezed further onto the pavement, which had a police van for some reason parked on it as well. So that was obstructing it further. So it was genuinely like a crush to get through. You eventually got through, and then you walked 10 yards at most, and then it was like 3 to 5 stewards. And I've never seen anything like it as well. Hold your tickets in the air. It was normally, I've seen it at Fir Park where there's 3 or 4 lines of stewards. That tends to be the norm there now. But they actually look at your ticket. But they were shouting, hold your tickets near as you went through. And so by the time everybody gets through the wee bit and you get to the stewards, as I say, there's 3 or 4 rows of stewards, and then there's police just storing in the middle, just basically getting in the road, whether that was his intentions or no, but there didn't seem any reason for them to be storing kind of where they were storing. You eventually get through. You don't get searched. I'm assuming that's because they'd held so many people back. It was like the floodgates had burst type thing. So you just get straight through, and then that was you into the grun. It was an absolute disgrace, and that's what we said get in. Like, it's £55 a ticket. It's no cheap. It's obviously the most expensive kind of away ticket in Scotland. And can you imagine paying £50, £60 to go to something at the Hydro, and that's how you get treated going in, or going to the SECC or whatever, going to a concert, and that's how you get treated getting in. But because it's a football match, nobody bats an eyelid. There was, before the game where we were all storming, there wasn't any trouble. There was no reason for them to do it. And it wasn't until I got in the stadium and I was talking to, like, just as you do, like talking to guys around about you, the one of the guys had said that that's the kind of practice they put in place for the 2,500 allocation, for the lesser allocation. Whereas when I've been, it's normally just polished on up the middle of the road and you're kind of coming and going. But he said that was the exact same like arrangement that they have for the 2,500 allocation. And when it's the 2,500 allocation, it runs relatively smoothly. But you're trying to do the same thing in the same space with 3 times as many people. It's designed to fail. It's never going to work. And it really, really wasn't a nice experience trying to get into the game. But as I say, that'll kind of fall by the wayside. We obviously what happened after it and stuff, but it wasn't a nice experience at all. No.
Oh, that's good first-hand testimony. And for P. McLaughlin, the thing that's mystifying to me is they knew how to police the Celtic fans in the Broom Loan for 38 years before this allocation was cut. So why were the police saying that they weren't prepared? And as you said, James, when that was the method that they had for 2,500, so why couldn't they scale up, effectively? Quite a dangerous thing, especially if you're a parent with kids. That's your worst nightmare. Really is your worst nightmare. And whenever people start getting bottled in like that, that's frightening stuff. One last question, James, before I kind of move on to like the lineup and stuff like that. I'll speak to Anthony about that. But one other thing, whenever you go into the stadium, once the game kicked off, were you aware at all that there were extra bodies at all in the Celtic end, or was it difficult to tell?
No, I didn't know that. We were up the rear, as they call it. So we were in kind of relatively early in comparison to, like, obviously kick-off. I think we were in the ground for about 50%, maybe just after. I never noticed it any busier. I've seen the videos since when I came out, but I had no idea any of that at that point. I didn't know that until more or less until I came home, to be honest.
That's fair enough. So McGinty, getting to the beginning of the game. So the first thing is the lineup. I'm sure more than one or two surprises. First thing that comes to mind is Scales playing at left back, and we're thinking why not Sriracha? Understand that Tierney is injured. What was your thoughts?
I've not heard the interviews afterwards. I don't know if Martin O'Neill's explained his thought process in that, but it was quite interesting that Sriracha's available, so you could play Sriracha and keep Scales at centre back. I know some of the talk at the start of the game was that maybe he wanted Scales as the captain, so he wanted to make sure he was still on the pitch. But then, as I say, you could play Sriracha, then play Scales at left centre back. But he's actively wanted to put Arthur in as well. So I don't know if that's a nod to Arthur that he was doing well the previous game, or if it's maybe that he just wanted 3 somewhat solid centre backs. Maybe he's going for the height at the back line as well. Not that Sriracha's any slouch, mind you, but it was an interesting move. I think a few of us even debated before game, was he potentially going to go 3 at the back? Mm-hmm. You could look at, obviously, Arojo playing wing back. You could look at maybe Yang playing left wing back. I know during the Nancy spell, right wing back was his kind of role, and he's the only one who kind of got pass marks playing in a slightly unfamiliar position. So there was some debate about what it was going to look like, but it ended up being the usual 4-3-3. The big surprise was, Scales at left back and Arthur getting the nod. And then probably people realising that Callum McGregor wasn't playing, which seemingly is obviously a wee knock there. So lineup-wise, up front expected goalkeeper Sinisalo keeping his place. I think most of us expected that, and I think actually to have dropped him would have been extremely harsh, and it's even more harsh now. If we are saying that Casper has been carrying that shoulder knock, whoever it is, he's finally getting a rest, it would be pretty poor if Casper was to walk back into the squad at any time now, without Sinisalo having a clanger, because he's definitely proved that he's every bit as good as this season's Casper Schmeichel, if not better. But no, the biggest thing about the lineup is always going to be that midfield. You're playing Nygren, Hatate, and McCowan. For me, Nygren and McCowan weren't the same kind of player, the right-sided attacking midfielders. Hatate, anybody's guess what his position actually is these days. I don't think he knows what kind of game he's meant to be playing either. So the midfield three is always going to be a bit fucking hit and a miss, kind of what version shows up. But yeah, lineup wise, there's a few surprises, but nothing major midfield.
Actually, I was listening to one Celtic podcast earlier on today, and they made the observation that out of the last 4 games, the 4 away games that we were expected to really struggle in, only one player has started each of the 4 games. Could you tell me which one that is?
Sinisalo.
No,
Sinisalo.
Yeah. Has it been 4 games?
And I think we're at that stage now where the majority of Celtic fans, unless you're Peter Schmeichel, I think everybody pretty much would be saying it's Sinisalo's jersey to lose right now. That he's earned it. He's taken opportunity whenever Schmeichel was either out of form or a combination of out of form and illness. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Maybe illness and out of form, but Sinisalo's came in. He's performed exceptionally well, and I think I would love to hear. Whenever you interview players, they'll never give you honest answers because they're always media trained. But see, if you were to ask people like Araujo, Scales, Trusty, Tierney, do you feel that wee bit more comfortable with Sinisalo playing behind you? I would like to hear what they would say.
See when your goalkeeper's doing what Sinisalo done on Sunday.
Oh, take the pressure off.
Take that pressure off. I mean, was that Sinisalo just having a run of games and now he's confident? Was it the fact that Callum McGregor wasn't there to fall back as that third centre back, so Sinisalo maybe felt he needed to step out? Whatever way it was, him stepping out was a lot better. He controlled the back line. He took ownership of the whole defensive duty, and he stepped forward literally to clear the lines, commanded his area, all the rest of it. I'm 100% convinced that the back line is happier. And there's no slight on Casper. We know he's got his issues just now, but he's also been a fantastic goalkeeper throughout his career, and he was great last season as well. But I think the rest of the team probably do realise it's a bit safer with Sinisalo. He looks to play the ball a bit faster. He's looking to control and command the back line. I think they would all be saying the same thing. It's a bit more.
See, even Schmeichel on his day, I don't think that I've seen the aerial balls that Sinisalo was taking down during the game. Even Schmeichel on his day, I don't think he's comfortable doing that. Like, he's not as tall as his manager, and I've said in this podcast, like, come with violence, for a goalkeeper commanding his box. Sinisalo was coming through people in order to get it, whereas Schmeichel, I just think he prefers to punch things. I don't think he's got the confidence in himself to jump up, catch it with 2 hands, calm things down. That's what Sinisalo was doing, and his pace coming off the line is that sweeper keeper, outstanding.
That's the massive difference for me. I don't think, sounds as if I'm digging him out, but I'm actually praising him. I don't think he's been brilliant in the sense of making save after save. I think the Aberdeen save obviously is the one that stands out up at Pittodrie. But like you say, that the massive difference is the coming for crosses and punching them when they need to be punched and catching them when it's there to be caught, which no lot of goalies seem to do. There was one, I can't remember if it was a corner or just a cross, but he takes it at full stretch and he goes right down in his back. And I remember turning and saying, if that's Schmeichel, that's at least a chance. Whether he saves it or no, but Schmeichel wouldn't have done what Sinisalo done there. And like I say, he didn't have a lot of saves to make in the game, but it was just that, like you say, it was the comfort that you took in knowing that you weren't going to see the daft kind of sidewinder, fucking daisy cutter punts that are putting everybody into bother every time when it's happening. And the coming for Crosses is massive for me. It's always, like you see, even when Schmeichel was fully fit, it was always his weakness, and it's good to have somebody in there that looks actually like a strength.
Yeah, like for him to play 4 away games, like Stuttgart, Aberdeen, Ibrox twice, like that, I think he's earned the stripes. So obviously we're moving forward with Sinisalo, and who knows what will happen with Casper, but it's up to him. But Sinisalo, it's his jersey, I think now. Look, the actual game itself, it obviously doesn't have much talking points, so there's no kind of flashpoints. I guess I will start off though with the Maida goal that wasn't a goal. So the freeze frame, whenever it was called back to say that it was offside, the freeze frame footage, the lines there, obviously inconclusive at best. Whenever that happened at Aberdeen, whenever Tenetke scored from an apparent offside position, we then had a follow-up where they managed to draw a line parallel to the 6-yard box and just extend it up, and that showed that he was in line, and you saw reverse camera footage of Nygren being onside. But on this occasion, we do not have that opportunity to say for sure. McGinty, you've seen it. I've not heard any dialogue. Maybe that'll be disclosed whenever Willie Collum does his reprogram. What's your thoughts?
The call was that it's a factual offside, so they have to be 100% sure to call that offside. And I don't see how you can use a still image from any sort of angle, drawn 2 lines that is so bad that you can actually count the pixelation on the lines and call that offside with any degree of certainty. And if there's any doubt, you can't make that a factual decision and overrule that goal. They have to let that play out and let that go. There's big questions need to be asked about the implementation of VAR in Scottish football, and I'm somebody who's absolutely all for the use of VAR and technology in the game, but it's how it's implemented and the people who are using it. I've said it before about the implementation when England took it in. They spent the first few years basically bemoaning VAR, but you have to remember of the big 5 leagues, I think they were the last ones to get it, and what England ended up doing was basically, spitting the dummy out like, fuck, we need to do this now, but we're going to make it look like it's really shit, and they just fucked it up beyond belief for a couple of years before they've eventually somewhat settled into a rhythm. We've went for the utter budget version of what that was, and can't even figure out what we're doing with it. We're making a fucking dug year out of this thing.
We don't have enough cameras. You need more cameras on the pitch to be right on these things.
So we're using the budget version with 6 cameras, and this is something that happened. Remember the Motherwell game with the Jota goal, where they took the picture from fucking the opposite end of the stadium, basically. So when we first got VAR implemented in Scottish football, I'm going just off memory, people correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm overly far wrong if I am. But we implemented it with 6 cameras. In my knowledge, that's 1 behind each goal, and then 2 on each touchline, 1 in each half, basically. That's your 6 cameras. Plus, you've got your main TV camera that sits, at the halfway line on the main stands in most football pitches, or if you're at Dens Park, it sits somewhere on the roof. The TV companies, as far as I'm aware, were told that they were allowed to use the VAR cameras, but they weren't allowed to use them as TV cameras. They were only allowed to use the feed, so they could use it, but they weren't allowed to control it per se. When the Jota incident happened at Motherwell, the excuse that they used that they couldn't use the one that would have been on that touchline on the near side was that camera was actually focused on the dugout, which is completely not what was meant to happen. So as you say, Gavin, the 6 cameras, we need more, but why are we still taking the one that looks like it's the TV camera from the halfway line? Where's the one that should have been basically running straight down the 18-yard box? We've not got that one. And then likewise from the opposite side, where's that one? They're not using them for some reason. Why not? Because we've all seen that still image. It's a fucking horrible still image. But there's a guy, I can't remember who it was, but there's a guy in the middle, Rangers player, who looks like he's a half yard further back than the one they actually drew the line on. They're picking the wrong thing in the wrong place. I generally don't understand how we can implement it so badly and use it so fucking shoddily. Something else I noticed, and this is just being a bit funny about it. Anybody noticed that we've actually had more images? Do you remember seeing the guy at the end of the game? He was running towards the Celtic fans, and a couple of Celtic fans came onto the pitch, and I think one actually landed a punch on him. I've seen more angles of that with clearer images than I've seen of the offside goal. I don't understand how that's happened when the other angles actually must come from Rangers fans. So how we've managed to get that angle of that incident plus in higher quality pictures than the VAR, I think it's an absolute shambles. Back to the point though, it's a factual call. How can you call that 100%? The lines are fucking shoddy. The position of the camera angle shoddy. They can't be assured of it. But I guarantee you, come that review show, they'll just brush it off. They'll brush it off. They'll say we'll learn from it. We couldn't be 100% sure. Whatever it is, they'll say, and they'll know nothing else about it.
So James, another thing that actually happened in the game was Rangers scored, and during the kind of real time, it looked like a goal, and I thought, oh well. I think was it at that point it was whenever Tavernier had came on and he was putting in some dangerous crosses. It might have been that time. So it was Fernandez who scored the goal from inside the 6-yard box. So I'd imagine you never saw exactly what limb he used to knock it over the line. The fact that he had the temerity to run away, goading the fans, like in full celebration, and then when you see it back, like I think he handles it to control it, and then he volleys it into the net with his other hand. Quite incredible.
Aye, what an absolute helmet, man. I mean, Raskin was getting at big licks as well, but there's an argument that he's noted no, but I mean, apparently all the Celtic team knew, because as soon as the ball went in the net, they all went to the ref. Like you say, like, I had no idea either, but I mean, he's literally, well, as you say, he's honned it twice. He's come down his horn, and then he's quite literally slapped the ball into the net. Anybody else, he'd done just back to the halfway line, go, oh mate, you know what's coming, but no, what an absolute arse piece, man. It's just a total red neck, and that's when you had the Rangers supporters spilling out the stand as well onto the kind of track, spilling out of the board. And as I say at the time when it went up for potential handball check, I don't think anybody was kind of aware how blatant it was. I think it is accidental, to be fair, but obviously it's never ever a goal. But what an absolute fanny celebrating like that. And then when you see the goal, there's no even an argument that they could make for it to stand. And here I've known that fine well himself. So when you watch it back, it's very, very strange. But obviously good for us, and I was going to say it gave us the boost we needed, but I'm not quite sure that panned out. But no, just totally bizarre.
Aye. So we'll obviously get to individual performances, but fast forwarding to the actual penalties itself. So who was the first Celtic player who? Well, Tavernier. Let's start with Tavernier. The man who's had most practice than anyone else in world football, probably. He scalps it off the bar. He actually didn't go to the side for a change, which Sinisalo actually dived right to the side, so he might have been in a position to save it, but Tavernier tried to go down the middle, scalps it off the bar. It was just a perfect opening to penalties at Ibrox when everybody thought he was a dead cert to take it. James, in your mind, what was the jubilation like at the Celtic fans at that point?
Brilliant. It was brilliant, obviously. I must admit, when it went to penalties, I didn't fancy any of us. I'm going through the team that's on the park at that point, and I'm fucking, there's Gordon Strachan there, there's Hooper Huddlehound playing. I'm like, who have we got on the park at this point? And I genuinely, it doesn't matter who steps forward here, I'm going to be like, oh no. And then obviously we went on to have a 100% record, but With Tavernier's penalties, I don't know if anybody else seen it. It was a while back. I think I've actually mentioned it before. It was Trevor Carson was on that Open Goal podcast, and he said that there's an open secret within basically goalkeepers in Scotland that Tavernier's got a tail, and know how he does that, like winding up his arm thing when he takes his penalty. Apparently, there's something in that he does differently if he's putting it to the left or putting it to the right. And since I know he goes straight down the middle this time, but since I've like he said that on that podcast, I've kind of took note of it. And a lot of the times in Scotland, like, still scores a lot of penalties, but a lot of the times the goalkeepers, they go the right way. They just obviously puts it right in the corner and it still goes in. So when he stepped forward, again, it's just why I read off wee things that stick in my head, and I'm like, well, we've got half a chance here if he goes the right way, but then obviously Tavernier does the hard work for the goal and just fucking blitters it off the bar. And it's the best possible start. And don't get me wrong, I've always got a wee thing. I always mind my dad used to say it all the time as well. The team that misses first in a penalty shootout tend to always win. So then you've got that flirting about your head as well. I don't know if we went too early here and we're going to get a lift and then we'll miss and it'll get deflated. But no, obviously it turned out not to be the case. But no, that was brilliant and obviously the best possible start for us.
That's good. I think we had a wee imposter in the comments. But I think McGinty has put him in the trash, so thank you for that. The first Celtic player to step up, Oxlade-Chamberlain, obviously the most experienced player in the park, probably, and he puts it down the middle. Great, calm, composed finish. I think we were kind of saying who's going to be stepping up for these. So great penalty for him. The next one, I think Rangers scored the next one, and who was our second one? Was it Trusty? Trusty, and he puts it to the left of the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper dives the wrong way. Never expected Trusty to do that. Like, were you guys shitting yourselves at that point?
I was shitting myself for whoever stepped forward. Honestly, I just didn't have any confidence in anybody with that team that had been left in the park, and just knowing how kind of poor we tend to be with penalties.
And Tati, obviously, he scores. He went the opposite way that he did last weekend, and Gassama he misses, and then Chvanchara steps up to take Celtic's fourth penalty, and a really, really good finish. Sends the keeper the wrong way, right into the bottom corner, and him and both Atati, they were winding up the Huns whenever they did score. But obviously, that moment when Chvanchara scores to put it out of sight for Rangers, just an amazing feeling. At that point, see, whenever the penalty started, I went into the kitchen to start like cooking. You know, I just started cutting up veg, and my wife was like in the living room, says, "Do you want me to tell you? Like, do you want me to tell you what's happening?" I'm like, "No." And then later on, she says, "I think you should watch this bit." And then I came in, I saw Chvanchara's final penalty. I had to watch back the other penalties, but Chvanchara's was the only one I watched live. So obviously jubilation at that point. Celtic fans spill onto the pitch, and just in glee and celebration, dancing, taking selfies, and then things take
blessing themselves, Gavin, blessing themselves aggressively. Fucking disgraceful scenes, as one fucking bedraggled TalkSport pundit said. Did any of you hear that? Did you listen to David Tanner? Oh my God, what an absolute helmet, yeah, guy. I think he was watching a scene for Braveheart instead of watching the Fitba. See, when I come back, I think I actually put it in the group chat when I know we'll obviously come on to discuss it seriously, but I put it in. I listened to it and I'm going, that didn't happen. He had 6 police horses on the park at one point, and I'm like, that just didn't happen. I'm like, this all happened within, what was it, like 3 or 4 minutes, and then everybody was off, and there was 2 lines of police, and I think in that time he had fucking machine guns, grenade, horses, swords. It was unbelievable. But those pesky fucking Catholics, the Celtic fact, making the sign of the cross. No bother, David. Cheers.
Right. Well, things obviously did take a sinister turn at that moment whenever the Union Bears felt provoked enough to come onto the pitch, and I think they were trying to invite other fellow Huns to come on as well. And at that point, you could see that they were baying for blood. They marched across, and some of the scenes were. It was quite amusing, but obviously it was turning sour. Rangers fans saw them punching stewards, fly kicked a spectator. I think at one point they even hit their own. And then you see they attacked one Celtic member of staff, and even Araujo almost got blindsided by a Rangers fan trying to attack him as well. And then I think Chara, whenever he's doing his interview, you can see he's got blood on his shirt. Don't know exactly where that originated from. McGinty, shit really hit the fan at that point. What was your thoughts?
Aye. It's kind of. I think we all know the angle that Celtic. That's the pure terminology for it. I think we all know what really fucking happened, and we all know where the trouble came from. It's an utter fucking disgrace. Celtic fans, fundamentally, right? Let's all admit, nobody should invade a football pitch. We all agree with that. However, we all live in the fucking reality of the real world. That when emotions are high and big games happen, big victories happen, you get through in a cup, you get to a cup final, you win a cup final, whatever it is you're doing, players will enter the field of play. Celtic fans have done it, Hibs fans have done it, Aberdeen fans have done it, Rangers fans have even done it after scoring a goal at that game. They managed to get over the advertising boards. Nobody fucking kicked off, did they? People do it across the whole of Scottish football at every single fucking ground, across the whole of Europe and definitely across other parts of the world, especially in South America, of course. You see pitch invasions all the fucking time. FYI, what happened on Sunday, not the worst thing that happened at a football game this weekend, if anybody's seen the South American videos where, was it 23 red cards? What? Fucking mental. It happens. It's not the end of the world. As we all said, I mean, I've even seen the video earlier today. I think it was on TikTok or Instagram or something. Somebody shared in one of the group chats of the guy running on, video himself on a selfie, probably on Snapchat actually.
Yeah.
Just going up to every player, hugging them, giving them a kiss. You know, even Bernardo's getting mad love, and Bernardo's not exactly a cult icon at Celtic just now. That's what that was. It was just euphoria and celebrations. And of course, there would be a couple of Celtic fans on the pitch who've probably looked towards the main stand at Ibrox and given it a bit of a fuck you, big, let's get it up here sort of thing. So fucking what? The issues that actually happened was from the complete opposite end of the stadium. Was at the Copland end, where the fucking Onion Bears fucking jump over the advertised boards, balaclavas on, looking like Spider-Man and fucking Temu version of the fucking Avengers, and start belting it through the pitch, lighting flares at the halfway point, running another 30 yards before launching flares into the stand, not just into the Celtic fans on the pitch, into the stands where there's clearly going to be young people, women, families, kids, and all the rest of it. It's just how the media do this is absolutely truly fucking mystifying. But how anybody can seriously blame Celtic fans for the pitch invasion shit at the end of the game, how you can blame Celtic fans for that entire thing, for the violence, mental. Mm-hmm. Just because they go on the pitch to celebrate doesn't mean that the other side have to retaliate. It doesn't work that way. Punish the people who are the bad, naughty ones. Don't punish the ones who were well behaved and just having a celebration. Now, that doesn't mean that Celtic fans were innocent. Obviously, there's a lot of issues pre-match with the fans coming into the turnstile and barging their way in. There's obviously pictures of graffiti and vandalism in the stands. I'm not going to say that we were rosy and squeaky clean. We should condemn that as well. But none of that matters when the main focus is clearly on the pitch invasion. And the people who are the bad people in that was the Rangers side, yet again. Happened in 2016 against Hibs. It's happened. You've seen the list on social media as well. It's happened at 72. It happened in the 80s. It happened in the 60s as well. There's always a time, every fucking 3-4 years, there'll be some sort of riot. Manchester, Sevilla, everywhere. It happens all the fucking time, and it's always their side that fucking kick it off. So the media need to stop with this fucking two halves of the one coin and all the rest of it. deal with their shite. I know that's two different phrases, James.
You're on fire with your sayings, right? It was a duck's ear earlier instead of a pig's ear, now it's two halves of the same coin.
I wanted to say Doug's dinner. I thought Doug's dinner doesn't sound right. There's an ear in there. And I know it's two halves of the same cheek and two sides of the same coin. Two cheeks of the same arse. Fuck it, doesn't matter, James. You get me the tips. It wasn't Celtic fans that caused that riot. That was Rangers fans. Let's deal with them where they are. And ideally, on a mad tangent, I'll wrap it up in a second. See if Celtic wanted to do the sensible, like Celtic as a club. You've had Brian Wilson talk about unity, bringing the fans back together. You've got the manager and coaches and players, asking for the fans to be, all the fans to be back in the stadium to get that atmosphere going for the end of the season. Celtic could have turned around yesterday or today and owned up to the shite that some Celtic fans have caused, offered to pay for the damages, do a donation to a charity of their choice that maybe helps deal with, victims of stuff, whatever. Done like the nice thing and condemn the graffiti and the vandalism and, condemn the side of the Celtic fans that needed to be condemned, but at the same time come out and fucking point the finger firmly at the real people who had the real issues at the end of the game. Flares thrown, stamping on people's heads outside the stadium. Our staff yet again at Ibrox getting attacked. Point the finger where it needs to be, which is at Rangers fans all the time, always is.
I think the media narrative, so I never listened to Super Scoreboard last night. I put it on today when I was working, and I had to switch it off. One of the first Celtic callers had called in and said, what Celtic did was nothing in comparison to the behaviour shown by Rangers fans. And Andy Halliday and who's the other guy who was on?
Roger Hanna. Last night's one, first goal. Absolute disgrace.
They were saying, look, tonight is not the night for point scoring. They were just as bad as each other. And I felt that was really, really disingenuous. You've heard other journalists come out, like, I think Graham Spears, he came out and said that Celtic fans were just celebrating, they were jubilant. Rangers fans wanted to come on and cause violence. I think there was a quote from the chief police officer, and she said she basically echoed those sentiments that the Celtic fan. I've seen one fan celebrating, another fans attacking. But these two journalists for like kind of mainstream media, they're trying to say that I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your opinion that Rangers were worse than Celtic. Like, what violence did Celtic fans cause on that park? What violence whatsoever? Now, there are things which you could hold your hands up and say that you don't agree with, like storming the turnstiles. I don't agree with that. Coming onto the pitch, there was nothing provocative at all about that. They were just simply celebrating, as you said. It happens at multiple grounds. Yeah, I'm sure that the Rangers fans wouldn't like to see that, but to take that as a sign that gives them license to go and attack, and then for the media to say they're just as bad as each other and they're not going to get this maximum allocation ever again because Celtic fans ruined it for everyone. I think it's a cop-out, it's disingenuous, and I don't think that they really believe that. It's shite. It's a load of shite. James, obviously get your comments about that, but you were actually in the Broomlaw at that point, so what was it like watching the scenes unfold?
It was a bit surreal, to be honest. I've never seen anything like that at the Fatbad in my puff. I've seen fans running around the park. We've seen it a couple of weeks ago at Rugby Park, but just the way it played out, it was bizarre. And then the jogging back to kind of where they came from as well, which seemed strange at the time. I didn't get that, but look, I think it's a shared responsibility. I hate the whole tit for tat thing, and like you say, they're fucking two sides of the same arse and all that, McGinty. I just I think it is a shared responsibility, and I think that Celtic need to shoulder their share of the responsibility as well. Like, you can say there's more responsibility elsewhere and all the rest of it, but for me, it boils down to kind of four different places: the two clubs, the media, and the police. And what I said before it was, like we said earlier, in terms of getting into the ground, we had these allocations for decades. These allocations were in place for years, and there was never an issue. Then it became an issue. We all know why it became an issue, because we kind of kept winning and they took the huff, and then Celtic retaliated, and it's basically been a bit back and forth ever since. But we had these allocations for years, and there was never anything like what we've seen. You maybe the odd thing thrown or whatever, kind of par for the course in general derby games. It shouldn't happen, but it does happen. But the media, since this kind of allocation things happened the last few years, I feel as if they build these games up to be something that they just aren't. And I feel as if there's kind of elements in base reports that almost feel the need that to kind of live up to that expectation as such it's put on it by the media. Like I say, like these games passed with these allocations for years with no trouble at all, and then the one time it comes back, it's like you say, like the Union Bears and the Green Brigade and the boys and all that. Look, the boys were up the tap, so it was nothing they couldn't get done unless they'd left the fucking rappels up for the roof. They couldn't have get back done. But I feel as if they build it up to be something that it isn't. It's like they try and like incite things that just aren't kind of there. It never happened. It was like mind back in the day. The Kevin Bridges with old Danny Dyer, fucking we're still eating a bacon roll, going. Do you know what I mean? But that was genuinely the way it was, and then now it's just like totally different. I think the media does play their kind of part in it. Look, it is hatred, of course it is, but I mean, look, we work with these people, we pals with these people, we speak to these people. You go to a game, you shout abuse at each other for 90 minutes, you behave after it, you talk about the game. That's genuinely the way it always was. So I think the media take their share. The clubs themselves, from your point of view, fans shouldn't be on the park. I know you can say it happens all the time, and it does happen all the time. It's pretty much par for the course, but similar with the pyro, you shouldn't do it. If you do it, then you're going to get punished, which is fair enough. Celtic fans went on the park in celebratory mode. It was a pitch invasion, like you would see. It's a thing that it's always got me as well. See, if you watch the playoffs in England and it's the League 2 playoffs or the League 1 playoffs and a team wins the semi-final and all the fans run on the park, it's great scenes, it's brilliant scenes. But as soon as it happens up here, then it's shameful. It's a shame. It's a stain on the country and all the rest of it. It's a lot of shite. Celtic fans ran on the park in jubilant celebratory mood, like we said, like we've seen. Went on getting pictures with the players, getting selfies, as you say, fucking get it up you and all the rest of it is par for the course. They shouldn't be there, but that was the reason they went on. Never went anywhere near a crossing the halfway line. And then all of a sudden, as you say, at the other end, they've jumped out and they're on the park looking for a fight. They're on the park for trouble. And I've seen folks saying, but they only jumped on the park to clear the Celtic supporters off because the police weren't doing anything. And if you think that's... Spurs are getting better one now. If you think that's the truth, you're entitled to that opinion. But my argument back to that would be, well, why did the Celtic fitness coach get attacked? Why did that happen? Why did the steward in the video you've seen get kicked? Why did the other one get punched in the video you've seen if you were there just to get Celtic supporters off the park? So there was one set of supporters that shouldn't have been there on for a celebration and a kind of party, and then another set of supporters come on looking for a fight. That's a shared responsibility. Regardless of what party mode or fighting mode, shouldn't have been on the park, so you need to own it. The stuff with the kind of...
Sorry, it's annoying me now. Who's Spurs playing?
Atletico Madrid, and it was Marcos Llorente. The stuff with the toilets getting thingweed like wrecked or whatever, that is bad as it is. That tends to be par for the course these days. We've seen it at Parkhead, we've seen it at Ibrox, seats getting ripped up, all that. The other club always foots the bill for it. As bad as it is, it tends to be par for the course. But again, you own it. It happened. The thing that, and look, people might have different views. I don't understand why you would. The Ibrox disaster stuff, I think, needs to get binned. I don't think... it seems to have creeped in recent years. You've seen people get to jail for it, and then you're seeing it getting wrote on the walls and all that. I don't that's where the tit for tat stuff falls down for me. You can't go, they shouted this and they said that, whilst that's getting wrote on the walls. That's playing in to the kind of media spin of the two cheeks of the same coin, McGinty. That's feeding into that stuff. That needs to go in the bin. And there's a couple of songs I know that seem to be working their way in, which they only seem to get sung at Ibrox and Hampden, which it's no my cup of tea. But I just don't. I don't know where that's came from, because it was never that way. I always used to read about the Ibrox disaster song, and genuinely I couldn't have told you what the Ibrox disaster song was. Used to see it in the paper, they sang the Ibrox disaster song, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. But it is something that you need to acknowledge, because it is creeping in now. You've seen it, the 66 and all the rest of it, and it's bang out order. It shouldn't happen. So, as I say again, shared responsibility. But my final point with the shared responsibility thing is on the policing. Like I said, like my own experience before it wasn't enjoyable, was horrendous. And then at full time as well. I mean, you see it often enough at Parkhead where the police and the stewards, they come out. I mean, it doesn't matter if we play Wraith Rovers or we play Rangers. At full time, the police come out and they walk round the grun and they block you off. You've seen it yourself, Gav, obviously. And they stand in front right at the end. Part-time supporter, McGinty. They come round, they stand in front of you, know what I mean? No, and then I'm like, surely when it goes to penalties, you know it's the end of the game. Where was that? That wasn't there. And then the other thing that you mentioned was with the breaking into the stadium without tickets. Again, shouldn't happen, bang out order. But if you watch the video, it's all stewards. There isn't a police in sight. And I don't know if that's because they were all too busy causing a crush at the other side, but there wasn't a police in sight, and stewards don't get paid enough to deal with that. If you're getting kind of crowd running at you and I'm a steward, don't probably know the best wages, I'd be stepping to one side and all.
Yeah.
So that's where you need the police to step in. So, as I say, I think there is a shared responsibility. I don't think Celtic come out of this as angels at all. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that should be the case. Celtic fans shouldn't have been on the park. They shouldn't have, the graffiti and all that about the Ibrox disaster shouldn't happen. Rangers supporters have come on the park looking for a fight. They've then got that fight, be it with other supporters, staff members of Celtic, stewards, whoever it was. So that's no right. The media build it up to be something that it never was, isn't right? And then, as I say, the police. So I think there's issues on all four fronts. I don't think you can pin the blame solely on one club or the other, or solely on the police. I think it is a shared responsibility across everybody, to be honest with you.
One particular thing that I wanted to say about the police is that after the disturbance, after the fans went back to their seats, or they left the stadium in Rangers' case, at that point you knew that there was a toxicity in the air at that point. And I was thinking, well, look, we've got thousands of Celtic fans right now who need to get safely home. The Rangers fans are baying for blood. They never got it on the park. They're going to be looking for it outside. It's the police's responsibility. Like, I know that'd be a massive inconvenience for you as a someone who went to the game, James. But I was thinking, keep the Celtic fans there for another while, for another bit, until you can make sure that they've got a safe passage to their buses, to their vehicles or whatever, to get home. And then I saw a few hours after the game footage of a Celtic fan. In the comments, he said that he was an old guy trying to go on a bus, and then some of the masked Rangers fans and dragged him down to the floor, and there was one guy who repeatedly stomped on his head. You could say that that's attempted murder. That's not just assault. That's something really, really sinister to be doing that, to stomping on a guy's head when he's already lying prostrate on the ground, cannot defend himself, and nobody was coming to his aid. If that was like somebody's relative seeing that, you'd be thinking what's happened to them. You'd be phoning the police and whatever to find out. That shouldn't have happened. The police should have been able to safely escort the Celtic fans to their supporters' buses, and maybe that was the one exception. Maybe everybody else managed to get safely back on the buses, but that looked deplorable. And I've not heard enough of the mainstream media being talking about that, so I found that quite harrowing. And as you said, James, like they've done this in the past in terms of the allocation, the full allocation. They managed it before, no violence had happened. So why have they dropped the ball with this one? It's really, really disappointing.
Do you not remember, was it last season or the season before? Definitely when Rodgers was with us. That the two clubs went through a spell of, we'll get around to getting the full allocation back, but we're going to put in measures that are going to control it and segregate people properly. It's going to be like almost like a military operation to get fans in and out the stadium as safely as possible. Celtic, I believe, I don't know if it's still there, but they started erecting the wall, the fencing outside the ground to basically give them a whole section to get into their corner at Celtic Park. We put up the netting. I think we showed pictures of it inside the stadium.
Yeah.
And then we looked towards Rangers to see, right, you're the next game. What have you done to put these measures into place? And they hadn't done fuck all, basically. And then the game went ahead without fans in it. I think it all fell apart again. Where's that went to? I get that it's fallen apart, but surely before we got back to the stage of the last week or so now, where it's been 2,500 last week and 7,500 this week, surely somebody should have been sitting down and saying, right, this shit needs to be done properly. And as you said there, Gavin, this is on the police at some point, and or the Ibrox version of that Mark Hargreaves at Celtic, whatever version they've got. They need to have figured this out before they let these fans in, because it has been decades before this that we've managed to get in and out of the stadium absolutely fine, but it's clear that the tensions are there. It's clear that the sections on both sides, but especially from our point of view, especially from their side, that are wanting blood. They want violence. They want a fight. It's not just, I'm here to defend my hallowed ground of the pitch sort of thing. As James says, if that's what you're doing when you run onto the pitch, why are you punching a Celtic staff? Why are you kicking and punching stewards? You're not doing that. And as you said there, Gavin, when you get outside the stadium, why is a guy getting stamped on multiple times? How are Rangers fans getting anywhere close to that guy before he gets onto a supporters bus? Surely there's a section that all the buses should have been at or pulling up towards, and they're properly segregated in a proper safe space to get them in and out of that stadium. It was just shambolic, absolutely shambolic. Before we move on, though, just that stuff about the 66 and the disaster and whatnot, I'm with James in the sense that we can't, as a collective Celtic group of fans, we can't be outraged and offended.
Sorry, it's 3-0.
Jesus, that's quick. What happened?
I know it's poor timing. Sorry.
We can't act offended and outraged by the Big Jock New slogans, the famine song, the up to our knees. We can't act offended by that. Some of us truly are offended by it, but we can't take them all high ground as a group of supporters now. If we're going to all turn a blind eye to the shite that gets graffitied and vandalised at Ibrox, whatever it is, anybody doing that shit, it's not on. It's distasteful. It's disgusting. It's not representative of the Celtic support. However, when they do it, that's what gets put out into the world, and that's what Celtic fans get painted as. So when it comes to that tit for tat, we're no better than that mob. But what I said earlier, back to what happened actually on the pitch at full time, that was Rangers fans. That was them causing that violence in that scene, not Celtic fans.
By the way, one thing that I would be happy to ban from football stadiums is ski masks. I just can't identify whether it be a Celtic fan or one of the rotten mob. I can't identify with a football supporter who goes to the game. He says, "I'll better take my balaclava with me. I might need that."
Why?
Yeah,
I don't get it. It should be treated like going into an airport or into banks. If you're going in with a helmet on into a bank or a balaclava on going into a bank, you get told to take it off, or else fuck off and leave. Same way in an airport.
You're doing it for anonymity. You're doing it to give you an excuse to maybe hit somebody, to do something.
if they want to start this whole fucking, I don't want to be on CCTV, I don't want my data and digital footprint and whatever wishy-washy left-wing fucking shite that they want to pretend to be in, even though they all act right-wing politically. If they want to go down that route, fine. Then you fucking leave your house then. Don't go outside. If you can't have your face seen in public because you're scared of what might happen because somebody might see your face, just don't fucking go outside because you can't trust yourself. You should be able to go to a football ground and act reasonably civil. The most of us wouldn't care if you're going to give the other side the fingers or the get up your gesture or the wanker sign. Nobody gives a fuck if you got your face on that. You're not doing that balaclava shit to because you want to protect your innocence. You're doing it to hide your criminal acts.
See, to actually talk about the game for a moment, okay?
There's a game of football.
Just want to talk about a few individuals. I guess, well, obviously, Trusty was a fantastic performer on the game. He really, really stood up. Another player who came on, Dane Murray, had a crucial block. He actually injured himself when he was doing it because I think the boy stamps on him. I'm kind of pleased for Dane Murray. I think everybody is now. It's quite funny because you can be quite quick to form a negative opinion about someone, but in order to reverse that, it takes a longer period of time. And I think maybe in Dane Murray's situation, it could be justified. We need to see more instances of this because it was just in the last weekend where he kind of gave away a goal with a fresh air swipe. But it was really, really good to see him come on. And I guess we will be talking about that for the Motherwell game on Saturday, who we would like to partner Liam Scales, because I think the Trusty is still suspended, serving his final match ban. Bernardo also came on and he looked as if he was kind of capable, dependable. He actually looked like the calmest man in the pitch when there was an aerial ball, and he just chested it down to Sinisalo, where it might have been easier to just hoof it up into the rafters. One particular player, James, who I was a wee bit disappointed in, and I have stood up for him, is Luke McCowan. I feel that now, obviously, historically, Luke McCowan has been a winger, but I just feel that in the centre of midfield, it happens too often where Luke McCowan loses the ball in dangerous positions. Now, I'm a big fan of Luke McCowan. I want him to succeed. I love the fact that he's got that kind of Celtic connection, and he's got a couple of uncles or season ticket holders at Parkhead. But look, if you're going to put on the hoops and if you're going to play for us and if you're going to be getting starts, you need to be performing. Now, Luke McCowan's not a bad player. He is gifted. But I don't want him to be a liability. Now, albeit we're not blessed with talent, we're not blessed with numbers, and we need players to stand up, and that's why he's getting his opportunity. But I sometimes, I wouldn't say have the fear, but I want him to do better. And I think it's not costed us any big moments. We've not lost goals, I don't think, but I don't think he stands up powerfully enough in the centre of midfield. And for me, that's a concern. Do you share that? Do you think I'm being over the top with that?
No, I think, to be honest, I thought when you were going through the subs, we were building up to a crescendo for Joel and Vuka there, but you went with Luke McCowan. But no, I thought it was poor. But I think he falls in the category of so many of the squad as well currently, where they're impact players. In the comments here, actually, I think that's fairly spot on. I think if he's coming on, I think I've said that before, he's the only kind of midfielder that we've got that'll more often than not look to get a shot away for the edge of the box. And I think that was what he was good at when he first came in. But it seems to be the way through his kind of full time at Celtic, where he looks all right, and then he gets a start and it just falls off a cliff. But don't get me wrong, I think that Sunday was probably one of the games where if we'd probably be on here slaughtering the full team, because I think if we're being totally honest, it obviously within the tools of Fitba wasn't a great performance. truth being told, I didn't think Scales had a great game. And then when I came out, I seen that he was the one being singled out for praise, which I was quite surprised at. I thought he'd get caught out of position quite a few times, and there was a few times where he just let the ball kind of go where he seed as opposed to kind of challenging for it. So I was kind of a bit surprised, to be honest, to see him singled out.
I thought Scales after that yellow card, I thought it's going to be a very, very difficult afternoon for him after that point, and I was surprised that he made it through without any more big moments.
Aye. But in terms of, look, fuck's sake, that's 4-0 to Atletico Madrid, 22 minutes.
Really? 22 minutes?
22 minutes. But in terms of individual performances, Sinisalo and Hatate, I think, well, Sinisalo, Trusty and Hatate were the only ones that I thought were actually kind of noticeable during the game in terms of like putting in a good performance. I thought Arthur was pretty safe. He gave it. There was the one he played short for Sinisalo, which he'd done really well. He came out quick for. Nygren, Nygren's just Nygren. If he doesn't score, he's well no being there. Paulo Bernardo, I thought was pretty good when he came on as well. But as I keep telling you, he's Portugal's under 21 captain, so there must be a player in there somewhere. But he's never listened to me. But then you get through. I actually didn't think Araujo did a great game either. I know obviously it kind of winds them up and stuff, but I didn't think he had his best game.
Maida's work rate looked back, like maybe the quality wasn't there, but his work rate, Maida, looked up to scratch.
Aye, and he was one of the first ones up the Celtic end after the penalties as well. Ganaff, he's not in amongst the supporters, which isn't what you would kind of expect for him, especially this season. But no, Luke McKeown I thought was poor, but no better or no worse than the majority of the team, to be fair.
And obviously getting to Mvuka, I don't know where to start with Mvuka. The fact that I still cannot get away from that we were moments away from signing this player for £3 million, and thank Christ that he failed his medical, because now we've actually got a chance to look at him. And whenever he came on, I was wondering why, Martin. Like, why are you bringing him on? Like, he's playing down the left wing. Bring on Sirachi. Let Sirachi. Like, he's left-footed. Like, he can play a wee bit further advanced. He's got a bit of quality in his left peg. Let him go. And then obviously Mvuka, he's got that pace. So I was wondering, well, maybe he's just going to pressurise the Hun defence. You know, maybe that's the one job that he's been given. Just cause a bit of chaos. He certainly caused chaos. I think more often in our half than in the opposition half. He might have won a corner at one point, much to everyone's disbelief, or maybe I've just imagined that. But the guy was like tackling himself. He was just such a weird-looking footballer, and I think many Celtic fans would do a better job than him. That's no word of a lie. It's just such a this guy would have cost £3 million. I was watching his YouTube clips yesterday just to remind myself, look, what was it that we saw in him? It's almost as baffling as the Balikwisha highlights on YouTube that you see. You're like, how could you justify this outlay on someone? Heads need to roll in terms of the people who thought that Mvuka was worth an investment. You cannot justify your job if you're suggesting this person to the management. But anyway, Mvuka, somehow we still managed to not concede with Mvuka on the pitch. Baffling. He's just such a weird footballer, and yeah, we've still got him for another couple of months. Weird.
The one that the one that sticks out to me, you've obviously seen it as well. He had 3 attempts to clear a bouncing ball unchallenged, kicked it 3 times, and honestly, I think you're lucky if he kicked it 10 yards. He's allowed to use his feet, and even if he was an American football player, it would still be hopeless. It was horrendously bad. And then the one at the end where he actually gets by a man and then just scoops it out for a goal kick. What are we doing here? But aye, dreadful. Really, really bad. But one thing that I said when he came on was he's an unknown quantity, and surely can he be as bad as he was on his debut? And even that was setting the bar too high, it turned out. But aye, dreadful.
Right. what else have we got? Right, so I guess when we. Oh, by the way, on this day, just a wee kind of change of direction. On this day, the 10th of March, 1965, Celtic cruise to a 6-0 league win at Airdrie in Jock Stein's first game as Celtic manager. 7 of the future Lisbon Lions in that team lineup: Gemmell, Clark, McNeil, Chalmers, Murdoch, Lennox, and Auld. And guess who scored 5 of Celtic's 6 goals that day? He wasn't a striker.
Sorry, mate, I totally missed that there.
You cunts.
That guy, the coach guy, I've just did a thing there that it's a tweet that the club that he's with has let him go.
Oh, has he been let go? Aye.
Aye.
I heard on Twitter as well that his cousins with Lee McCulloch. That could be total bullshit, unverified. I just saw someone post that. Aye. Anyway, Bertie Auld scored 5 of Celtic's 6 goals in that league win at Airdrie in 1965. So there you go. Right, guys, onwards and upwards.
Quiz time.
Pardon?
Quiz time now.
Oh, mate, we've not had a quiz in a long time.
We should organise one for a weekend night. We'll do a wee special.
Yeah.
You get one going.
Right, we've got Motherwell coming up on Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. Looking forward to it. McGinty, is there a change in optimism? Obviously, James, I think James might have said it in the group chat that Motherwell's league challenge started in March this year and ended in March this year. But we've got Motherwell visiting Parkhead. Stephen Welsh, he'll be out from the visiting team. And obviously they've suffered their first defeat in a while. They've got a crazy record for like goals conceded. They're so tight defensively. How do you see Saturday unfolding?
I'm no more confident game by game than I was 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, whatever it was. Every game is the biggest game of the season going forward. I know that's a bit cliche to say, but it really is a case of the next game is, must win. But against Motherwell, I think with them being beat at the weekend, it gives you a bit more optimism that we should be able to go there and do something. And it sounds fucking pathetic saying that because we're Celtic, for fuck's sake. Without sounding entitled, we should be going into every game fairly confident of winning without being guaranteed, obviously. But I'm a wee bit more confident this week in going into the game against Motherwell. But I'm not fully convinced we're going to win. But at the same time, if you took, I don't know, James, if we went back a week and a half ago, I would easily said on here, and I probably did a few times, league's gone, done, dusted. Whereas we sit here today, and I think most of us are sitting thinking, double?
I've been hearing talk about a double, yeah.
Because Rangers, Rangers look like they're probably... Rangers are in the position we were in 2 weeks ago, where you turn around and you look at Motherwell and you're thinking, fuck, we might end up 4th at this rate. We're not got that feeling anymore. But again, in a week's time, we might be back there because it's that close and that tight. We still need Hearts to do us a favour. But if we go into the Motherwell game and we get the win, I would love to see if we get a convincing performance and a big win that kicks us on. But again, that's been said every game this season. It's never fucking coming. But if we do just get through that game with all 3 points, I think most fans start to get a bit more excited about the prospects of the run-in. Was it 9 games to go? Took Motherwell off, 8 games to go. It starts getting closer and closer to the end, and you start thinking about it. What if? Yeah, a little bit more confident, Gavin, is basically what I'm saying. But by no means convinced that we're going to get the win. It's very much bite your nails.
It'll be a difficult game. Oh, certainly be a difficult game. In terms of the mentality for Motherwell, I think that I hate to say it. I really hate to say it, but I don't think that they'll allow that to kind of dampen their spirit. Maybe they might concede that it's too difficult to catch up with Hearts. Likely, I heard that they've sold out the full away allocation for Parkhead, but I still think
Generally
that
good.
yeah, I still think that they'll bring their A game, and it'll be a difficult game. And it's another one where we might not have the quality, but we're going to have that grit and that determination. And maybe there'll be a new hero on Saturday to get us the win. It just seems that every single game is get jeopardy.
A wee bit funny if they've not got Stephen Welsh, and I know we're going to say that Stephen Welsh is not really the level of defender that Celtic need when Celtic are meant to be at the top of the game. But if they don't have Stephen Welsh, their defensive stability, surely that's in a little bit of question. I mean, all props to them for, was it the best defensive record in top league football in Europe? I think they've still got that claim, or whatever it is. If he's not there, that opens up something for us. Well, obviously he's not there because he can't play. It'd be interesting to see it that way. What will also be interesting is if we do beat them, does that mean we can all stop fucking suggesting that Askew should be the next Celtic manager because of like literally 10 games of football?
I don't know what the Celtic board are capable of in terms of recruitment, but point here for Gary, the last time we played Motherwell Parkhead at the start of the season, there was a howler when they were trying to kind of play it out from the back when we were pressing, and I think they passed it right to, I don't know, one of our players, and then it needed an injury time equaliser, an injury time winner from Celtic for us to get over the line. So even that game before Motherwell had really got into their stride, they still gave us a bit of a scare. James, Motherwell, and I guess the kind of the wider issue is, has your optimism at all changed? Because I said it earlier on tonight, this chunk of 4 games away, Stuttgart, Aberdeen, and 2 Rangers games, nobody gave us much hope. A lot of people were saying that by the end of those 4 games, we could be out of the cup, out of Europe, and the league would be done and dusted. You heard it from McGinty himself. You know, we're on course for a double. Has your optimism levels changed at all? And obviously, you're not going to be daft enough to think that Motherwell will be pushovers. It'll be a difficult game. How do you think it'll unfold?
Well, it's hard not to feel a wee bit more optimistic because, I mean, very realistically, we were sitting here speaking potentially about facing 4 defeats out of 4, if no 3 out of 4. And we went through them, as I say, unbeaten. The kicking the bollocks in amongst it is the Hibs game. The Drampway had won that game and it was 3 points. I'd be a lot more confident. I'm still no... I really don't know what to think, because I was going to say you don't know what Celtic you're going to get, but by and large you do, and it's no great. We turn every game into a coin toss, it seems.
Can I ask one other thing? I'm sorry to be a dick. How big will the absence of Callum McGregor be for playing at home? I think that's when he performs best at home.
See, McGinty was saying earlier, I've been critical as well of McGregor this season. I've probably defended him at times kind of when I shouldn't have, because I've said that he's not a holding midfielder. That's a role he's been asked to play. But the thing that I've took issue with McGregor is that when you think of McGregor playing that role well, he grabs the games with the scruff of the neck and he drives the team forward. He sets the tempo. And I don't think he's been doing that a lot recently. He done it the second half at Ibrox last week to an extent, but I think it was more noticeable against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. In the second half when Oxlade Chamberlain came on as well. That's what I want to see McGregor doing if he's going to be playing that deeper role. I think we did miss McGregor at the weekend, and I think the stats bear that out. I mean, how often, as we said earlier, how often do you watch a Celtic game without us having a shot on target, without us barely having an attack during the game? And I think a lot of that comes from McGregor. And we've already said that Nygren and McKeown kind of weren't great. Obviously, would have taken McKeown's place anyway. So I think that is a big miss. I think missing your captain is always going to be a miss. So I would rather have him to pick than no. And And on the Motherwell thing as well, look, it's amazing what a wee bit of pressure can do, because, like you said, like, their title challenge went from March to March, but it was only kind of the last couple of weeks that there was genuine talk of them winning the league. Like, they kind of went about their business kind of relatively quietly, and then they kind of went in that wee run, and it was like, right, well, they could then with a shout here. And then as soon as the pressure's on, they go up to Dens Park and they lose. So there's that kind of wounded animal, to use an old cliche extent there. And Celtic have been great, and I don't think you can put a lot of comfort in the performance at the weekend, because the performance at the weekend wasn't great either. And Motherwell, when we played them at Fir Park, albeit we had the disadvantage of Alfred Nancy, but that was like watching a European team playing Celtic. We could not get a kick that night. So you just hope that the players kind of want to take a wee bit of revenge for that as well, because we were genuinely embarrassed that night. So I think it goes one of two ways. I think we can run out kind of semi-convincing winners, or I can seize dropping points. And see the league thing. I still think, well, Hearts are favourites, obviously, but I think that we are banking on something happening at Tynecastle that there is absolutely no evidence is going to happen. I get that we're getting to the business end and it's the running, but Hearts, there's no been talk about Hearts winning the league just for the last kind of week or two. Hearts have been playing with pressure more or less since Christmas, and they've stepped up, or when they haven't stepped up and they've dropped points, we've kind of reeled them in and then went on to fuck it up again, and they've kind of went ahead. So I think the Hibs game a couple of weeks ago, if it was 3 points going into it and we still had to play them at Parkhead, then I'd be feeling a lot more confident. But I'm not quite kind of flying the league flag at Parkhead just yet, but a convincing one at the weekend, I might be saying otherwise.
Something I looked into the other day, yesterday maybe, I'm just kind of bringing up the league table just now just to kind of drop myself. Everybody said, obviously, was it 8 wins out of 9 in Martin O'Neill's first stint as interim manager, or 8 undefeated out of 9, so whatever it was, and then he's went on a good run of form most of this second stint. The last 5 games in the league form, we only lost 1 game, drawn another one, and obviously won 3. Motherwell, Hearts, when you look back at their run of fixtures for the whole of the season, they had a fantastic start to the season, no doubt about it. Absolute fantastic start to the season. But I think it was at the end of October, going into the start of November, they've not won more than 3 games in a row since the start of November. They always drop points around about the 3rd or the 4th game. The consistency of their form, albeit still very good, albeit, as James says, they've stood up to the pressure since Christmas, New Year, when the talk of winning the titles has ramped up. They've stayed strong. They have. All credit to where they are. But there's 9 games to go. If you take form and over the course, expect them to drop 2, maybe 3 games between now and the end of the season. And if you look at Martin O'Neill's form with Celtic domestically, you'd expect Celtic to drop not as many games as Hearts. So, yeah, title's still there to be won. It's 5 points. We get to play Hearts again. We beat them that game as an absolute must. I don't think we can win the league without winning that game. No matter what else happens, I think the gap is just a bit too close with 2 little games. But if we beat Hearts, there is another favour to be done for us. But with 2 points in it, I think that favour's there. Be it that maybe it's against Rangers that ends up doing us a favour, maybe it's against Hibs that does us a favour. But at some point, they will drop another game outside of our win. All we need to do is just make sure we win at least 8 of the next 9, and that other one probably a draw. I think that's the level of consistency we need to be putting in. But Hearts are definitely capable of dropping points.
I think on paper you can certainly plan your way to getting back on level terms with Hearts, but it's just how things play out in real terms. Obviously, Hearts go away to Kilmarnock on Saturday evening. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. So hopefully by that point, we'll be able to narrow the gap to just 2 points. And that'll put a bit of pressure on them. But we will see. Was it not the last time that Kilmarnock played? The last time that Hearts played an evening league kickoff? It was against St Mirren, and they get beat in that game. Who knows? Who knows? There might be a repeat of things. But between now and the start of the split, we've got obviously Motherwell at home at Parkhead. We've got Dundee United away the following weekend, Dundee away the following weekend, and then we've got St Mirren at Parkhead on the 11th of April. And I think in between them we'll probably have the semi-final against St Mirren as well. So, James, if I was to ask you, who finishes third? Who finishes fourth? Who finishes third? Who comes in second? And who comes in first? If you were to make a prediction just now,
I think Motherwell will finish fourth. I think Rangers will be third. I'm going to say we're going to win the league. You're asking me out loud, so I'm going to say we're winning the league. So Hearts are second.
McGinty. So we've got Motherwell, Rangers, Hearts, and then Celtic. Would you deviate from that prediction?
Looking at Motherwell's fixtures, they've got us at Celtic Park, they've got Hibs at home, they've got Falkirk at home, and then they need to go play Hearts away. That's their 4 games before the split. Yeah, if they're about to now bottle crashing it, that's a really tough run of fixtures for them. Every single game is top half opponents, and then they go into the split, and it's obviously top half opponents again. But they look like they're going to definitely drop points in at least 3 of those 4 games. So Motherwell 4th, Rangers 3rd. I know they're only technically a point behind us, but Rangers 3rd, and like James, and back myself with what I've just said about the league and the form of Hearts, I think we can sneak it. It might go down to the last game or the second last game, but I think we might sneak it.
Surely it's going to go down to the last game or two, surely. It would give me the fear if it doesn't, because that would make me more pessimistic. Right, okay. So to everybody in the comments, thank you so much for joining us, and especially to a few of you with your regular comments. That's been really, really helpful. So thank you for getting involved. Last question, gents. The lineup for Saturday. So obviously we do have a few injuries now. Mark O'Neill said that he hopes that Kieran Tierney will return to face Motherwell, that Callum McGregor faces a longer wait. So starting off, why don't we do it as a team? So Casper goes, yeah? So Sinisalo, Araujo, right back. Now, obviously, I think we've got Trusty, who's still suspended. So we're going to have Liam Scales at left centre back. Who accompanies him? Is it Arthur or is it Murray?
I think it'll be Arthur. Just very briefly, I'll say it. Arthur was not the defender that we needed to sign in January. The whole saga with Simpson, Pusey, Welsh, and then bringing Arthur, it was a disaster. It was fucking stupid. But see the little bit that we've seen of Arthur the last couple of games, I can see something in him, and I would like him to get a run of games, and I would like maybe to look at signing him in the summer. Besides the point, he's played the last couple of games. I think he does get the nod for this one. I think Dean Murray's had too many bomb scare moments to throw him into starting a game. So I think Arthur.
James, no matter who starts, he will be under pressure. Do you go for Arthur or Murray?
I think he'll go for Murray, because I think he has played well the last 2 games at Ibrox, and he'll get the reward for that way starting at the weekend. Probably as a coin toss, to be fair. Arthur, I take McGinty's point that he's looked alright, but I think he's been very safe, and I don't think he was as good in there as he should have been. He certainly wasn't as good in there as Murray was at the weekend. So I think that it'll be Murray that gets the nod at the weekend, and the fact that he's our player.
Okay, left back. So would you take a a Tierney who just manages to prove his fitness, or would you go for Sriracha? I think Sriracha for the past couple of weeks, I'm a wee bit confused as to why he's not been given a wee bit more game time, but Martin Neal knows better than me. Who would you go for?
I wouldn't be against either one of them.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is the fitness of KT. If he's touch and go, why risk it? If he's ready to go, fair enough. So in that sense, I think O'Neill would go with KT if he's fit enough.
Okay. Moving into midfield now, it looks like the man who thought had already booked his flights to leave Glasgow at the end of the season, a man who looked as if he'd already hung up his boots. Rio Hatate. Rio Hatate has played very well for Celtic in the past 2 outings at Ibrox. I think he's a dead cert to be starting. Would either of you disagree?
No.
Especially with Cal McGregor out. He does seem to be one of the more kind of experienced midfielders that we've got. So Rio Hatate, I'd imagine that Nygren is going to start. So who else? Does Oxlade Chamberlain come in?
I think it might go for McCowan. This is the problem with our midfield. I don't think anybody really is deserving of walking into the starter lineup. So, yeah, if you're going to go with Hatate and Nygren, I think it might be McCowan.
McCowan over Oxlade, yeah?
I think so.
Aye.
I think he'll go Oxlade Chamberlain. But see, to be honest with you, I think you could pick any three, and I don't think on paper it's a great. It's not a great mix, if you know what I mean. They don't kind of complement each other very well.
Is there any reality where Bernardo gets a start?
I think he would have had to have played more at the weekend. I think coming on when he did, I don't think it was enough to say he was getting played to give him the chance to step in to the next game. I think he was just getting pulled on because we needed another body, sort of thing. I don't think he's anywhere near the kind of mindset of not his mindset. I don't think he's anywhere near Martin Neal's thoughts in this.
Some would say he's got great leadership qualities, but right. Okay, so we've kind of went through the midfield and up front. We keep changing it. So, James, who would you go for your front three? Then I'll hear from McGinty.
I'd put Mvuka up front at striker just for a fucking laugh, because none of the strikers, Maeda included, do anything. I imagine it'll be Shvanchara in the hope that he can take kind of confidence for obviously the winning penalty and kick on for there. I think it'll be Shvanchara, Maeda, and I'd probably start James Forrest, because Yang has been absolutely shite for a while now, and it seems to fly under the radar again because he had that wee spell where he looked like a football player.
Yang's been crap since that wonder goal against the Hunts.
Aye.
I have wondered, James, for quite a while, and I've never said it out loud, I don't think. Why aren't we starting James Forrest? Because anytime he does come on for the last half hour, I get that he's not been fantastic, but he at least looks like a fucking winger. The rest of them don't. He at least looks like he wants to get on the ball, cut in and find his shot. He's maybe not as prolific as he once was, but he's the only one who looks like he's actually capable of putting in a convincing shift as a winger. The rest of them, it's more miss than hits, and even then, the hits aren't that fucking great. I would personally go with James Forrest, but I don't think we will. I think the front three is going to be Shvanchara. I want to say Taneki, and I would go Yang, but I think Maeda gets in there as well over Yang.
I wouldn't start Forrest. I think we're going to have to do a lot of running in this game because Motherwell pass it really well and they move into positions. What do we do? Should we be thinking about counteracting that or just playing to our strengths? Taneki is great coming on as an impact sub. He's good at carrying the ball. He started the game at Ibrox. I think it will be Taneki fuck, I don't even know, man. I don't know. I think Maida will start. I think Chvanchara will start. So does Tanetki play it on the right? I don't know. Maida's best on the left. Yang. Fuck, I don't like Yang. I don't know, man. I don't know. So we'll find out. We'll find out. Anyway,
Do you think Tanetki might drop to the bench after the back of the last kind of couple of games at Ibrox where he's been, well, certainly the last game at Ibrox, it just seems to be so ineffective when he starts. I think when he starts, if there's any sort of physicality up against him, he just struggles. But if he's coming after the bench against a kind of tired defence, he can run at them.
who will it be? Will he be up against O'Donnell? Stephen O'Donnell?
I don't even know. I couldn't tell you, mate. I don't know.
Right. Well, anyway, we shall find out. So, guys, we've been on for like over an hour and a half, longer than I expected, but obviously plenty of talking points. I've really enjoyed it, so thanks for all you joining, and we'll be back hopefully next Tuesday to talk about, hopefully, a victory over Motherwell and us being 3 points closer to Hearts. We shall find out. So, to everybody in the comments, thank you again for your contributions. And James, do you want to give us a score update for Tottenham?
4-1 half time.
Oh, Jesus. Right, okay. Well, on that note, good night, God bless.